Hey Scott, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, my laptop wouldn't connect.
Oh, it's okay. We figured out a way. All right. One of our commissioners is absent today, and one commissioner is taking a quick break in the restroom, and we'll be ready to go. Some space. Oops. That's what she said.
We'll bring this meeting to order for the Linn County budget hearing. I'd like to welcome everyone here for the revenue neutral rate hearing. Purpose of this hearing is to listen and answer objections of taxpayers related to revenue neutral rate, and the proposed tax rate is required by statute 792988. This hearing is now open for comments. Each person has 3 minutes to voice their concerns. So anybody like to step to the podium and state your name?
Kathleen Hampton. I'm a Linn County resident. And the thing I'm upset about is that the taxes on our farmland agri combination, our 80 acres, one of our properties where we live, has gone up $500, 23% overall, all our taxes, but 30% only on our residents. We have a 1,550 square foot home. And I think that's a little absurd. I mean, we're happy to fund the schools. All generations have contributed to school and education, but I think this is a little ridiculous. My 01 Dodge pickup, taxes went up on it, and we had to change because we don't drive it except for farm, we changed it to farm, and it did go down a little, but it had gone up, and I even called and complained about it, which I got the normal excuse, well, taxes have gone up, it's used, but they're worth more. I said, have you seen it? I mean, it's an old truck. So that is my complaint, that they have gone up by 30%, which is, we're Linn County. I'm 81 years old. We're on a restricted income. And that's just beyond our budget because insurance and everything else has gone up too. That's my complaint. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Crone, and I've lived on my property for 42 years. We have a small home, 1,200 square foot, and my property taxes went up basically 100% in 1 year with no improvements or anything. And they tell me, oh, well, we're comparing you to your neighbors. Well, I'm sorry, my house isn't any better than one neighbor. The others have richer, nicer homes than me, and I only have 10 acres. And on Social Security, when your property taxes double in like 1 year, that's devastating to us. It's hard for us to make a living. What do? We don't want to leave Linn County. However, it's been an option.
Hi, my name is Sherry Nutt, and I live out at Sugar Valley Lake. I live in a 600 square foot home. And my assessment, what you guys think it's worth, went up $70 this year. We've done nothing. We've lived there $70,000 for my 600 square foot house. I mean, it's ridiculous what you guys are doing. You're taxing us out of our homes. And I know it's not all your fault, but doing it in great big chunks like that, I feel sorry for the, don't mean to be rude to anybody, the elderly people who have lived here forever and now you're going to tax them out of their home. So is there anything you guys can do to make it different? I have a lot behind me that was $600 3 years ago. Now it's $3,630, and all I did was move the trash on it. It has no electricity, no water, no nothing. So it's getting a little ridiculous. And they're not selling the houses. We tried to sell our house. Nobody would buy it. And you're getting my tax money, right? When I pay my taxes, you guys get it. The county gets it, and you are the county leaders, right?
We get a portion of it.
Okay, we don't get a portion of it. We live at Sugar Valley Lake. You guys don't want to help us at all. You don't even want us to become a open lake to where you can take care of the roads and stuff for us. You don't want to do that, but yet you're going to raise our taxes astronomically. And I mean, I know we get fire and we get police and we get the ambulance. Thank you for that. But we don't get anything else from you guys, but you keep raising our taxes. So what you're going to do is you're going to tax us out of our places. I'm terminally ill. My husband's retired to take care of me. That's why we moved down here, because this is where we wanted to be. And we're going to have to find somewhere else to live. We can't pay this crap. It's ridiculous. So figure out something, would you please?
We're working on it.
I hope so, because $70,000 in 1 year is a lot of money for a 600 square foot house. Okay? Thank you.
Howdy, I'm Robert Tyson. And Linn County, I've been here, we celebrated our 154th anniversary being in the county. So the Tyson Ranch has been here a long time. Linn County has been increasing our taxes by such a great rate over the number of years. Our power plant pays 60% of our property taxes. So our property taxes should be half of what the property taxes are of our surrounding counties of our size. But with even them paying 60% of our taxes, our property taxes are higher than any of the counties around us our size and maybe in the state. And one reason is because we've increased the size of our government to a point that we can almost can't fund it. For instance, we have a department, one of many maybe, in Linn County, employs 3, 4, 5 people, that even Miami County don't have that department. But we keep expanding our employees and we keep spending money to the point where our property taxes are out of sight and we're still just a little 9,000 plus bedroom community. And there ought to be a way. Then if we could decrease our spending by 20%, we still would be high, but we'd be competitive. Now, we're going up 9% this year, so that would only be 11% decrease from last year. But we're going up so fast, and we're spending so much money that it's really hard to make it ends meet in the county. There's other things I'd like to say, but I better let other people speak. And I want to thank Commissioner Johnson for voting against this big increase. Thank you.
And Sugar Valley Lake is not a resort. If you think it's a resort, come on out. Like, it's not.
Did the clock freeze?
Hiya. I'm so short. I need to put this down a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm Sandy Sands, and I'm at Sugar Valley Lake. Then in 2000, I guess it was 2023 and 2024, our taxes went up. Listen to this, 667% on our lot. I mean, that is a huge jump.
I came in and questioned it, and he said, well, the state says we have to get up to where we should be, that they've been really nice down here and have kept the taxes down. And then, so we've got to get up to where it is comparable in other areas. This is not another area. I mean, I had heard that the food fair, over 50% of the people that shop there are on food stamps. Think about it. 50% of the people are on food stamps? We're not, but we may have to go on them if it keeps going the way it is with the taxes. And I'm wondering, and I've got a question for you. Can anything be really done? Are we just talking? Can anything be done to change this? Can you guys answer that question?
Are we allowed to speak during this time?
So the public comment is generally speaking a one-way conversation, and when it's all finished, you're welcome to take notes and then
That's how
So
I
that-
understood it. I would like to comment, but I'm gonna hold off until everybody is.
So how can we find out if there is anything to be done? I mean, because I feel like sometimes these meetings, you just talk. We just talk. You hear. But is there, my thoughts are, is this just a waste of time, or is there anything that could be done? And I know you're saying that you can't answer that question, but that does,
so she's gonna answer it, but she's gonna wait to hear.
oh, she's
from
going to answer it at the end.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, I'm
I
sorry. I
have
misunderstood what you just
some
said.
Suggestions,
Mhm.
some ideas, but I'm also looking for everyone to also give me
Mhm.
ideas. What are your suggestions? What do we do? I'm 7 months into this and I want to give you guys answers, but at this point, I'm going to let everyone speak. I have some ideas with possibly state legislatures, getting involved with that, property tax, the valuation division. Do we have to be compliant? I'm not sure. But I also don't want to say anything that's incorrect. So yes, I'm brainstorming a lot of things, even outside of these meetings with other people that live here and going over spreadsheets, different things, trying to get a full understanding of
Well, I was
options
just
to
wondering,
do that-
and you can answer this at the end, are your hands tied? That's what I want to know. Because if your hands are tied, then there's no use in having any of these meetings.
So I'll answer that. I think for the most part they are, because Lisa's job is directed by the state of Kansas and the property valuation division.
So why are we having meetings?
Well, okay.
Again, I would like to just answer it at the end, but if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's fine. You can answer it at the end. But that's what my point is. It's like, I feel like if you're there, there's no use in having any meetings if there's nothing, if all you're doing is getting people more frustrated. They're coming to meetings and then they're like, oh, well, we can't do anything about that. So, and you know,
I think those are the responses you've had heard in the past, and I'd like to look into that. If anyone, when you come up here, if you do have a suggestion or a person to get in contact with, just state that when you come up as well.
my suggestion is you lower the taxes.
Correct.
You know, that's
Also,
the bottom line. I mean,
And I'm just telling you, I would
Yeah.
be happy to respond at the end if our hands are tied. That was actually your question.
and another question is, do they look at the fact that this area has no major industries? There's nothing here. The people that are living here are retired or people that can't afford to live in Johnson County or other areas. That's what this is like. It's like the Ozarks, not that bad, but it is like a depressed area where people just don't make that much money. And I think that to keep upping the taxes the way that they are, and another quick comment is that the fact is, I'm sorry, I'm taking too long. Yes, we had a real increase in prices down at the lake and after COVID, but it's leveling off, and actually people aren't able to sell their houses now. So to say that you're upping them because the value is going up, it's not really. It's actually leveling off or going down. So that's my. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can also just briefly respond that this is the hearing for the exceeding revenue neutral. And I understand that it in some ways overlaps with the appraisal issue that several of you seem to be raising. And so those are two separate things. The exceeding revenue neutral has to do with the mill levy, and the appraisal situation is something else. We certainly hear you all about that, and the commissioners are going to respond about that. The county appraiser is here listening to your guys' comments as well. Okay.
Okay, my name's Dave Inlows. I've lived in the county only about 4 years. So you are proposing the revenue neutral line of this. You have a revenue neutral, you have a proposed tax, you have proposed tax exceeding, you have the amount of property, then you have the difference in change. So is that the revenue neutral rate? Is that the column you're working on?
The proposed rate is what we worked on, but we've dropped the proposed rate since this came out. But
Okay, well, if you want ideas, to me, the appraisers here, I don't care what you appraise my property at. It's what you guys set the mill levy at, and you guys set the mill levy. You do have the ability. That isn't the state. That is regulated by you. And so you can value this paper at $1 or $10 million, and depends on what mill levy you set is how much tax I'm going to pay on it. But, you're looking for ideas for taxes. To me, it comes down to philosophy of government. What is your philosophy? To me, the most important thing you have to do is keep us safe. Okay, and we have a new jail over here, and I feel very safe in this county. But one thing I've talked to the sheriff about it. He says we have $1 million surplus. Well, we're one county away building a jail just like this, and that $1 million is going to go away because they're not going to drive down here from Wyandotte County to bring their prisoners here. So I hope we can put that $1 million and pay off that bond or whatever is there, instead of putting it in. Secondly, to me, second major is infrastructure, because I can't build roads, I can't do all that, and that's your job. And to me, after that, everything else is fluff. And I'm very concerned about the property tax levels because, unlike you, mine have gone up significantly since I moved here. And I'd hope we can do something about that. I know I've sat on a commission in Iowa for 8 years, so I know your job is not easy. But the mill levies can be changed, and there's just hard decisions have to be made. But I think to keep people in this county and in this state, really, I tell you, the people that left my place, they left in a motorhome, and they have no address in Wyoming now because there's no state income tax because they got sick and tired of paying the taxes. So anyway, I appreciate your work. I thank you for doing it. It's a thankless job, but I hope we can do something for the people here.
Thank you.
Good morning, Karen Tyson. I'm going to start out a little different. I hope I don't offend anybody, but thank you guys. For the last few years, you have remained revenue neutral. It's been greatly appreciated. This year, my question to you, and you can answer it later, was if you do the math, the county valuation went up approximately 9%, and your increase was 9%. So I was hoping that you weren't just trying to capture all of that valuation increase, and it sounds like you have lowered it some. And we heard somebody mention earlier that, as people leave, maybe we don't fill all the jobs. And not that the work doesn't need to get done. I know it does, but we've got a department, I know of one that Miami County doesn't even have. So maybe we could look at our overall structure of government, just a suggestion. You guys, I know you got a tough
What
job.
department was that?
They don't have a mapping department. I don't want to pick on anybody, but yeah, we've been told they don't have a mapping department. And I've been told that's a state mandate. I'm trying to look into that. I don't know that that's accurate, but if it is, I'm going to work with you guys and try to figure out what can we relieve the counties from that they're saying they have to do. I know one thing, and the appraiser may not appreciate this, but you don't have to have a county appraiser. You can actually have an appraisal district. And so some counties, that's something that could be looked into. And I know the counties say, and I'm studying this in great depth, but they say they have to be within this 10% ratio. There's other counties that are not within that 10% ratio, and there's nothing that happens to them. And for the last 3 years, if you look, the average in Linn County property tax increases, excluding new development, it's over an average of 66% increase in valuations. And so at the state level, we are trying to implement a constitutional amendment that would limit the taxable value amount, not your actual value, but your taxable amount and your assessed value to 3% or less. And so we found out that appraisers throughout the state then said, oh, we've got to increase the valuations because they may get this passed into law. Well, that's not how the process is supposed to work. And I don't know that that went on in Linn County. That is not what I saw, but I did see it in other counties. I do appreciate you guys. I hope everybody shows up for the other revenue neutral hearings because these are massive increases and people are getting taxed out of their home. But I think that you guys have stayed revenue neutral in the past, and I'm hoping you can draw that down to make it as minimal increase as possible. So thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah. Well, it's up to Jim.
10-minute recess? Two? Okay. Make a motion, we take a 2-minute recess. Second.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Return at 11:26. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? We'll open it back up. No one else?
Just for a minute, Jim.
Okay.
I wasn't here for your neutral stuff. I was just here for the property taxes. For the last 4 years, Linn County is one of the highest counties in the state for raising them. We're going over 20% for the last 4 years, property values, and it's got to stop. And whatever you can do to bring that down and even cut taxes, we'd all appreciate it.
Can you state your name, please, just for the record?
Warren Road. And by the way, if the county needs money, Payne Road has been mowed all summer.
Payne Road.
Anybody else?
My name's Jeffrey Lund. I'm a resident here. We've owned a property here since 2001. Moved down during COVID from an expensive house, a house that's worth $500,000 now in Johnson County, which is the reason we left Johnson County, because of exactly what's going on here. It's been going on in Johnson County for years, but it's crept into this community. And I assure you, if there was a show of hands for all these people, are we all here for the same reason? We're all here for the same reason. These are all voters. And I'm not, accusing anyone or assuming, but there's two games you can play with this, which the gentleman that was in Iowa is, you can change the mill or you can change the appraisals. But if you adjust one and lower the other one to offset it, it's just a game. And I think we all know that's what's going on. I don't envision any possibility of either of these things lowering our taxes. So we're kind of just yelling at deaf ears, I guess. Not that you guys, I appreciate what you're doing, and I wouldn't want the job either. But I'd like to see a possible solution on lowering. We have a property that was valued, we have an empty lot that's valued all of a sudden 75 by, 130, I think, Susie? That's gone up from being valued at, I think, went up from 10,000. This year, according to this, it's worth 40,000. I did mow it. I guess that's the improvement that's made it increase so much, but that's a pretty big jump for a vacant lot with no power, no water, no sewer, none of that. Yes, we're on lake. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. It's because we're near water, I guess. So. But anyway, that's the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Lisa, would you like to speak? You're the one.
Oh.
Oh, sorry about that.
Top of the morning to everybody. My name is Asad Muhammad. I moved to Linn County in 2021. I find this a nice place to live. I've also lived in other areas throughout the United States. Not to make everybody feel uncomfortable, but I've lived in states and towns where the taxes were $13,000 a year. Meaning that you may have to go get 3 jobs just to pay the taxes. However, Linn County, when I chose Linn County to live, taxes, as always, when you're purchasing property, is on the top of the mind. I didn't think that I would be here today for this purpose of the increases of taxes that I've experienced since I've been living here. And I just want to say this, you know, a lot of the residents here have the same concerns about the taxes going up. And what is it that you guys, the commissioners and the state and the county, what can you do? Because we all understand that you guys work for us. However, I would like to say this, no disrespect. I've learned just recently for the politicians in China, their politicians are not just lawyers. Their politicians are scientists. They work to find solutions. They do research and development to find solutions to whatever problem that the people of China may be faced with. And today, China, which is a billion-plus population, 300,000 of those people are rich today. So my question is to you guys, or my concerns is to you guys, since you guys represent us, do you find the needs and concerns that we have as residents, do you really take it into consideration? Or are you really fighting for our best interests? Because at the rate things is going, people are going to stop coming to Linn County to live. And I don't think that would be in the best interest of Linn County. I know politics is strange and difficult. But at the same time, we're hoping that you guys will be the scientists for us to resolve this issue so that we don't be burdened with the responsibility from our incomes to carry the state, the city, the county. And again, Linn County was one of the places that I chose because of the taxes and the property and the beautiful people that live here. So I ask of you guys, I know your hands are tied, but one thing for sure is the biggest room is room for improvement. So as you work from this day forward for us as the residents, please fight hard for us so we can continue to enjoy Linn County and so we can keep some of our money in our pockets instead of giving it away unnecessarily. Like any budget, you have to trim the fat. You have to revisit it. That's all we're asking. Stand up and fight for us from a moral perspective. Just don't say yes because Topeka say this is what has to be done. Come up with other options and other solutions that will benefit us all. Look at the residents. They've already worked hard already for their life, during their lifetime. So you asking us to work even harder to shorten our lifespan, to please the taxes of Linn County? So please, I ask that all the officials in here hold that thought when you're deciding to do whatever it is for Linn County. Work hard for our best interests. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to correct myself.
Step to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just confirmed Miami County does have a mapping department. I think it might be a difference of how they handle their mapping department versus us, but I just wanted to make clear that I had misspoke, that they do have a mapping department. So, and I know most of you in here, there is it's not an answer, but it is a Band-Aid until we can get this fixed. There, in January, you can apply for a property tax freeze for seniors and disabled veterans. So we need to, I've tried to advertise and get that information out there. We need to get more of that information out there because there's more people that qualify. I've been told that not everybody's reading my updates because it's been in my update for
So
almost.
that did pass? I was under the impression it didn't pass.
No, we've had it. It's been in place. A property tax freeze for senior citizens and disabled veterans. That's been in place for, we passed it in 2022. We expanded it last year. And in fact, this session, we even expanded it more because we exempted all of your Social Security does not count toward the household income. So more people should
So
qualify.
the bill that died, was that the one for veterans that were just disabled?
So if you're talking about the House bill,
Yes.
that was, there was misinformation on that.
Okay.
And that would not have passed. If it would have been challenged in court, the odds are it wouldn't have passed constitutional muster. You can't pick one group and the other and lower their.
Because it
prop-
passed both and
and
then
it-
Laura Kelly vetoed it, correct?
No, that's a
okay.
different legislation. No, this is a property tax freeze for low-income seniors and disabled veterans. The valuation of the home has to be 350,000 or less. The household income now is increased to approximately 58,000 a year. Now it's minus Social Security, so more people will qualify. You have to be 65 years or older or a 50% or more disabled veteran. That is in place. There's two other senior programs, Safe Senior and another one, and we're trying to combine those applications, combine those programs so that they're not as confusing for people.
Is there a information you can just email me on that so we can update our website so it's available to our citizens?
Absolutely, I'd be glad to. Send me an email and I'll respond to it.
And
And
if there are any other counties that have that already implemented, such as Johnson County on their website, just
they've created their own
I saw-
property tax freeze program. We're not recommending that. But if, you can do whatever you want, obviously. We're hoping that we can fix this program for
What do
everybody,
you
property
mean,
tax
do
system
whatever
for
you- How did
everybody.
Johnson County do it? How did Johnson County do something different?
They just formed their own property tax freeze program. So, but if you think about a property tax freeze, what we're doing is we're using state income tax and state sales tax to freeze property taxes. So that's not solving the problem. That's why I say that's a Band-Aid. But it is a Band-Aid to try to keep people in their homes until we can get the system actually fixed. So, and we all know it's a broken system. We've all seen the valuation increases. Just because your neighbor does something to their home, your valuation is going up. That's unrealized gains that you're paying on. We've got properties that, I got one in Osawatomie that is a heartbreaking example, an older couple. The valuation was $350,000 by the county. The family, they passed. The family couldn't sell the home for $250,000. And they had been paying property taxes all those years. And people are like, well, you can appeal it. That appeals process is not, it is a burden for the taxpayer. It is an absolute burden for the taxpayer, and that's not the way the process should be. So we are working on several things to change this process. The constitutional amendment, it would not put appraisers out of their job. I know some of them think it would, but you still would have the valuation of your property, but the amount that you're taxed on could not go up more than 3% a year if we could get that passed. Now, the locals can still raise the mill levy. That's for your budgets. And I have a feeling that if we don't start seeing more results at the local level, not necessarily you guys, but statewide, we're going to end up with another property tax lid, a cap. And all that did was increase our taxes every year to 3% because they'd sock away the money. I won't get into the details of that, but thank you guys. And yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out because we are trying to fix this. There's a group of us that meet statewide every other week. We're brainstorming on ideas and how to solve the process. We've got appraisers, we've got PVD, everybody's on that call trying to figure out how do we solve property taxes, because it is, you're being taxed on unrealized gains, and that's not fair.
Is that free till next year's census? Or can we just say it's free?
When you apply for it.
So they have to change for this year. Yeah, I mean, because if you apply today,
You can't apply till today. You would apply January to April next year, and it would be a freeze from this year's taxes to next year. So that you would,
doesn't help you for this year.
well, it does, but you would pay you have to pay your taxes, and then you get a rebate check from the state. It does not cost the county anything. It is similar. That's the third program, Safe Senior, Homestead, and then the property tax freeze. I think they're calling it Homestead 2 is what it is. Yeah. It was out there. I put it out there. Well, I put it in my newsletters in the newspaper. I mean, I've done everything. I sent it to all the senators. They sent it out. I mean, we've tried to get it out there. Well, maybe there's a reason too. Yeah, the applications are, now the Safe Senior and the Homestead, you might be able to apply for those now. I'm not sure the deadlines on those, but two of them are in January to April. So, but we are trying to combine the applications. So it's simple. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Okay, in light of the questions and some of those questions seem to be loaded with misinformation about how those appraised values were arrived at your individual properties. So in light of that, and since all of y'all are here for that, we wanted to give our appraiser an opportunity to just briefly in an overview style explain how she is obliged by the state statute and by her job with the state through her certifications to arrive at those appraisals this year, because it seems like some of you might not understand that, and so hearing it directly from her is what the county commissioners wanted to do in order to be able to at least give you some piece of information today.
Yeah, well, first of all, I thank everybody for their comments. I mean, I have been in Linn County my whole life. I'm 65 years old, and I've been in this office, in the appraiser's office, for 37 years. So I have seen it all from the very beginning. I came when reappraisal was first voted in. So, you know, things have changed, and I wished land could be at $200 an acre, which is what I bought my first acres for. I have 100 acres outside of town, and 15 years ago, I paid probably $1,500 an acre. But this year, land is selling for anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 an acre on big tracts of land. And so as an appraiser, I am bound by statute. The state tells me I have to appraise at market value. And you all are well aware that we have a ratio that we have to stay in between.
Sorry, I'll wait till you finish.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate
But
that.
that's not, so.
Anyway, my understanding is I have signed on with the state. I have taken an oath of office that I will appraise property at market value. And so within that, they have certain standards that we have to follow, not only state statutes, but we have to follow appraisal statutes, which is the USPAP standards. It's a universal appraiser's practices. And so we have to sign on to the USPAP. We have to be certified in all of those areas. I've had a lot of schooling. I've had to take a lot of tests, and I've had to prove to the state that I have the ability to interpret value. And so that is what I've done to my best ability. I have been in this office for about a year. but as the county appraiser. So what we've seen, we saw the big change in 2019, and I'm sorry, COVID started it. Whereas some of the properties were coming in at very small acreages, we start seeing a lot of people want to buy into Linn County. And so when they came from areas outside of Linn County, that they were paying, it was nothing for them to pay 10 to 15,000 an acre. They would come into our county, and for them, they got a dream at 4,500 an acre or 5,000 an acre. And so they bought large tracts of land. And so what that does, when you get enough of those sales, you have to look at what is the market actually doing. So we analyze all the sales. We see every sale. We see everything that's for sale. We talk to real estate brokers. We see everything that comes into our county. We have certain criteria that we look and say, is that current with the local market? So we interview everybody that buys and sells property. You know, when you bought this, did you feel like it was a good sale? Did you feel like it wasn't a good sale, and why not? So we interview every sale that comes through. Then we go out and we physically look at the property every time it sells. This is part of our sales practice to stay on top of what the market's doing. We come and look at all of them. If not, we're looking at aerials. We're looking at the property to see if there's any improvements on them at the time it's sold. And so that goes into a database, not only our database, it goes into the state database. The state also calls and looks at sales. And so all of that goes into a database, and we just do analysis on it to see what is property selling per square foot. And then you get into a lot of other issues with what quality of the house is it, and what quality of the structure, is there depreciation? And through all of that, we develop values, and we're appraising, this is mass appraisal. So we're appraising 19,000 parcels at once. We have 19,282 parcels in our county, or anyway, today. That changes constantly with splits and combinations. And so we go through, and to the best of our ability, we build depreciation tables off of our sales. If properties are selling, then how does it depreciating? So we build depreciation tables. We build cap rate tables for income properties. We have we build cost tables. Everything is looked at, and we use a national standard called Marshall and Swift. And they give us our beginning values, and then we have to build off those beginning values based on our sales. So all of that comes down to market value. We have the final say. We look at the property and we say, if this sold on the open market based on what we're seeing and the trends, is this a reasonable value for this property? So we send you a notice. We let you know this is what our market is showing, what we're appraising the property at. And then you have 30 days to come in and tell us why you like it or you don't. And so we went through the hearing process. We had about 300 informal hearings this year where people came in and talked to us. And so and then we came to an agreement or not an agreement. And then they have the ability to go on to the small claims hearings. So I've had quite a few small claims hearings where they didn't like our values. And so now we have a lot of people that are going beyond small claims. Small claims has an independent appraiser who comes in and looks at both sides. It's fresh. He just says, what's going on here? He makes a decision. He sends you and I both a decision that he has agreed one way or the other. If he agrees for the taxpayer, we adjust it. If he doesn't, and then the taxpayer has the authority and the right to go on higher than that. So I have about 4 state board tax appeal hearings that are going to a full board where attorneys are going to look at the values. And so that's going to happen in September. So you have many ways to appeal. You get one appeal a year. You can either appeal in the spring when we send out informal hearings, or you can appeal in the winter, which is called payment under protest. It's the same process, except it's at different times of year. In the spring, you don't have to pay your taxes, but in the fall, you have to pay at least half the taxes. So everyone gets the ability to appeal. And all we're doing is setting what the market is doing. We're trying to tell you, this is what the market says you can get out of your property if you sell it today. If it's not right, then we'll take a look at it again. So that is our process, and that's under statute. We have regulations. Everything that we analyze, we have to send into the state. There are state appraisers looking at everything we send into them. Every depreciation table we set, every income approach capitalization rates we set. For everything we do, we send it into the state and they review our stuff. If it's not right, they send it back and say, no, this is not right. You need to relook at this. So it has had layers of stuff looked at it before we actually run it through our process. So you have 3 approaches to appraise property. We can use the cost approach, the income approach, or the comparable sales analysis. And these are standard practices and procedures of appraisal. That is what we're doing. It is very analytical and just driven. Unfortunately, we don't even we just look at the properties. We look at neighborhoods. We look at how the neighborhoods are selling. Different places are put into different neighborhoods. And so sales pull from that neighborhood first. And if we don't have enough sales to pull from that neighborhood, it'll pull to the next closest neighborhood to that property. So everything is being analyzed. And I wished people were paying less for properties. But what we're seeing right now, we're right in line. The sales that are coming in 2025, we're seeing they're right at what we're appraising for. So I don't know the answer to that because our job is to appraise at market value. I don't know. It's the market. The market is the market. I appraise oil wells too. I've seen oil go from $8 a barrel to $120 a barrel. It changes constantly. Appraisal is a constantly moving thing. Interest rates have an effect on it, as interest rates or supply and demand have an effect on it. So it's just, is there more in supply than demand or demand? It all affects it. So we look at all that constantly.
And this has all been going on all these years.
Mhm.
Why in 23, why did ours go up 667%?
I don't know I'd have to look at your individual property.
You know, what I'm just saying is, it's only a lot. It's nothing on it. And I'm just saying.
It probably, my thought process is it probably should have been raised in prior years and they just held off on it because
So if it was mandated by the state, why weren't they doing it all along?
they should have been
Because, see,
probably.
This is, I think, my complaint is when you just jump something up so high, so quickly, that's what hurts people. If
I
you
understand that.
gradually go up with taxes, you feel like you can absorb it. But when all of a sudden, bam, 667% increase is wrong. You know, it's just wrong. And that's just on a lot.
You know, we are working really hard. It's 19,000 parcels. And sometimes we might concentrate in one neighborhood more on one year than another. We're trying to be equal with everybody. And maybe we've seen some inequities in one neighborhood that needed to be, maybe the sales in that neighborhood were like, everyone's buying in this area. So we're like, we have to start with land values. So we look at, even when we appraise land, we look at 3 approaches to land. So everything has to be analyzed. We have to look at the abstraction method, the allocation method, and the comparable sales. So we have to pull sales on all that land analysis, and we have to analyze each one of those neighborhoods and by what type of water it is. We have 5 lake developments. We're looking at, is it a primary site? Is it a secondary site? Is it a water view? Is it a waterfront? So each one of those have to be analyzed. It takes us over a month just to analyze land. And so it is a lot of analysis. We're not just pulling stuff out of the air.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate you giving that explanation. And one last question. Have any of these commissioners either jointly or individually dictated to you how you're going to do your appraisals?
Never.
Thank you.
I have a question. She's talking about that jump, that increase, that 600%. Are there any restrictions that the state puts on you?
No.
You can't exceed 20%
Nope.
per year.
There's no restrictions. It is to be brought in at market value, whatever the market is doing.
Well, I heard from the questions of what you guys asked, and the only thing that I see where I sit at is we can cut spending. I mean, that's the only option. If we choose to stay revenue neutral, we have to hold our costs down. And as everybody knows, costs are going up. So if you guys don't like where we're at now, in order to do what we're doing, we've got to cut services somewhere if we're going to stay as far as revenue neutral. I didn't vote to accept this budget. I wanted to stay revenue neutral, and we can, if we choose to cut some budgets, and there's some budgets that I have questioned over yet today, because there's huge. Step to the podium if you'd like to talk.
Kathleen Hampton again. As far as services go, where we live, we don't even get gravel on our roads. I am on a list for 3 years to get my ditch cleaned out.
You aren't the only one.
I know, but we can't use our pond.
You're not the only one.
We can't use our pond. We had our pond repaired, so we had to take our fence out to do that. And we're waiting to get the ditch cleaned out so we can
Have you
re-fence it.
sent a work order in on it again?
I have called since Sean was here, and the last time I called, all they told me was, you're on a list.
Okay.
I've been on it for 3 years.
What is the address? Do you mind?
20446 Keidel Road. There are only 2 houses on that road. Keitel. And we can't use that pond. And when it gets dry like this, our other pond is not that big. And there's no way we can use it. We can't put an electric fence across that because it is it's a gravel road, but we get lots of traffic on it.
Okay.
So services, I question that.
You can step, you want to talk.
So I listened to the appraiser and she finished up with accurate information, but when she started out, she was just talking about market value, but not how they arrived at the market value. And the only way that I see the residential being done in Linn County is the cost approach, and our sales approach is the only one being done. But there are 2 other approaches. There's the sales approach and the income approach that can be used to value property. And so I would say, and I've studied, I actually went up to Topeka. We've been looking at the system, the software system that they use. One of the things that you don't know about and may not be aware of is the counties can set individual weightings for those properties. So I would challenge, if they're using those weightings, how is that fair and equitable across the state? And the other thing is, if you looked at your comparisons, I mean, some of our comparisons were 20, 30 miles away from us. They weren't even close in the area. So when are the latest sales that they're using? They're trying to get last year's sales so that they can get our valuations up. I challenge, not that the appraisers are doing it wrong, but that the process is broken. And I found online a county appraiser. In fact, she used to be the Linn County appraiser. And she is quoted she was a president of the Kansas Association of County Appraisers. And she said that she had windshield time and she was trying to figure out how difficult things can be because she saw her position as having to predict the future. Well, if this is a factual, accurate system, how are you trying to predict the future? You shouldn't be. These should be based off of solid numbers, not somebody's subjective opinion as to what you think the property will sell for. And therein lies the problem. I'm not saying that the appraisers aren't doing what they're being told to do. And she did make a statement that it was by statute. Well, no, not all of it is by statute. Statute gives authority to PDBD to write directives, which directives are different than rules and regulations. They don't even go through a process. They're just put out there. They're just directives. And they follow those directives. So most legislators wouldn't even say that they signed up for that 10% ratio or whatever it may be that's a directive. So the system's broken. We are digging in. We are trying to figure it out. There's a big disconnect. We've had legislation for a few years now, to elect appraisers. I don't think that solves the problem by any means, but it is being talked about. So that's how drastic this system is broken, I would say. And yes, it does fall back on you. There's two equations. Your baseline is your appraisal and the mill levy. Those two numbers together calculate your property taxes. And that's why the equation gets confusing, I think, for some people. They think it's you guys, but if you look at this letter too, it's not just the county. There's other
Well, you
tax.
got to go back to your library boards, your townships, and your
Yes.
schools take more of your money than we do.
Yeah, and if you didn't have this letter, what I like about it is it's fair warning as to what the maximum of your property taxes will be. So you can start planning in December. But it's fair warning to be at these meetings so that we can be heard before our taxes go up.
But all of them, the school board and everybody needs to go out to all of the meetings.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussions concerning the revenue neutral rate in our proposed budget?
Is everyone done? Public comment? Well, I just had a couple of questions. but-
Hold on, wait a second. Are we closing public comment? We just have to do that first. Thanks.
We'll close public comment.
I think we do have options. I don't think I'm well versed enough to make a statement today on what the possibilities are. I do think that if we had time to work with Lisa and kind of have some discussions about other options, that would be helpful. Understanding the directives, if you could email that over to me when you get a chance. I'd like to read through all of that. I think that we're all still working on being revenue neutral. I don't think that was ever, yes, we voted to exceed just because we were well over. I think we've cut it down to, was it $1.5 million or where were we at now?
It was $1.5 million over revenue neutral prior to considering any kind of COLA increase.
We're $1.5 million right
We're-
now.
$1.5 million over, so we've already cut it.
Commissioners, if you look at the notice to exceed revenue neutral, what was published in the paper and what was sent to the public was
38.237.
Correct, 38.237.
And we're at 30. Now, where are we at with the cuts we've made?
To give you wiggle room to still consider adding any COLA increases, I've asked our CPA and his team to kind of beef up our cash reserves in each fund, just so you have that opportunity and option. That being said, that still keeps our mill levy at 37.225, which is the budget that I've have prepared for you today.
And what revenue neutral is
35.087.
0.8, so.
I have 0.86. Wonder why. Did that print differently?
It might be a slight rounding error. Was that right, Scott? I think we talked about that once.
Yes, looking here, both the ones I got are 7. Let me look back here. There's been many changes, so.
Well, this is what was sent out to a resident.
that's what was on the, what you're saying is the county clerk's, July 20th. sent out.
The mailer, that's
The
correct.
mailer.
35.06 was the revenue neutral rate, right?
086,
Yeah.
but they're saying it's 087.
That may be a typo on my part.
Okay. Well, on the sheet here.
Your mailer would, be, what would be stuck at? That would be your revenue neutral rate.
086, okay.
And you know, this doesn't happen too often, but if the correction occurs between the mailer and the publication, the revenue neutral rate could change a little bit, because that's what got some people in trouble the first couple of years, and then they changed the law to say that only you can adjust your, if the correction makes your rate go higher, you can adjust your rate, but it's probably around it. I don't see it right here in front of me, but I'll dig a little bigger.
This is this is our county hired CPA. His name is Scott Lloyd from the Scott Lloyd Group.
So we did change it so that if the actual appraisals come different, you're allowed.
Okay,
You don't have to.
okay.
So you guys dropped from 38 to
37.
7225. We've done that so far.
That is correct. And what they're going to propose to vote on today is 37.225.
But we can drop it from there.
Absolutely. It can still be dropped from there, just can't go higher than that 37.225. Which means actually we're saving money from last year's budget.
considering you haven't increased it 4 years.
Because, okay, so last year's mill levy, 38.238.
Mhm. So the value of the mill will
The value
change every year.
changes,
The
yeah.
the formula is the prior year's tax revenue divided by the current year's valuation. Then we take
Last
that
year's
times
tax rate was
Last year's tax
35,086. In order to stay revenue
Divided by-
neutral, it's 35,086 this year off of it.
So the value of a mill will change year to year. This year, the mill, a single mill is worth 388,000 and some change.
Right.
So that's why last year's mill levy that we landed on was very similar to the proposed one this year, but the dollar amount of each mill changes.
Because our rate, our
Because our
appraisals went up this year, so.
So, just a quick question, and maybe I should already have known this, but whenever she's proposing the increase, then when we get that back to us, do we start basing our budget off of the revenue neutral, off of her evaluations? That's where that's our,
Is the tax.
the common ground, this is where we start, this is where we're
Start the
starting.
base.
So every year, our revenue neutral, it's basically gonna go up, because if you keep going up. If you ever go down, it could possibly go down.
As our valuation
If the
goes
values
up.
go down, then your mill levies would go up if your budget's still.
Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure. So the more, as you are increasing the values, then in a way, we are having more money to,
If you stay the
Budget.
same mill levy.
if we're staying at the stuff, okay.
That's the reason why you.
The
drop it.
reason,
Go ahead, Scott.
yeah, the reason that is that way is because the
quiet,
dollars, the dollars stay the same as last year, okay? The tax dollars stay the same each year. So whatever you end last year's tax dollars with, that stays the same. Then, so if the tax dollars stay the same, I've said this, flat, then if the assessed value goes up like yours did, 32 million, then the mill levy goes down. If the assessed value goes down, the mill levy goes up. Now, what she gives you on June 15th and is certified by the clerk, that is an estimated value. So that value will not be finalized till somewhere around the end of September, October 1st. That's when the final rates will be set. So there could be a little bit of difference if there's a correction, there was an error made or whatever. But that's the tax dollars stay the same as last year for revenue neutral. But why yours dropped is because of that fairly significant increase in assessed value.
Lisa, you can explain, like, all the utilities are set by the state, right?
Right, so that's part of the value increase is the state assessed utilities. And my understanding is it was up over 10 million.
Well, it
This
went up
year.
this year.
Yes.
Okay, I thought
Yes.
it went down.
Bob Kent emailed me last Thursday and told me that he had re-looked just to make sure and said ours went up over 10 million.
Well, last I'd heard, I don't know where I got that. But the
Yeah.
last I'd heard it went down.
He said he checked and he was
I
checking again,
checked.
but wanted to email me and let me know that our value increase is partly due to state assess. It went up 10 million, so.
Well, that's good.
State went up 22 million, 22.3. That was the estimate when I was there working on it. The state assessed went up 9.4 million rounded. Personal property was 31,000 and oil and gas was 249,000. So it was a 32.03 or 4 increase in value, 32 million. 22 of it being real estate, 9.4 at that time being state assessed.
So if it's to 10 million now, that's helped us too, right? I mean, if
Yeah, so the value, if that is true, that means the value would have been more than what we were figuring the budget on. So that means the rate would, the final revenue neutral rate would be down lower after that correction. If that's an error, I don't know how that happened. I don't have those numbers, but yeah, that's what would happen.
okay.
Well, it's up to the chairman. He'll address you. Chairman Jim.
You can step up there, one person can, if they want to, all at one.
Since the value of our properties have gone up, are you getting more money just for taxes, just for the value of the properties going up and we're paying more taxes, right?
Just depends what we do on our
So you're just making a decision whether to become revenue neutral, like keep it the same from last year. I mean, if our property taxes have gone, all of us has gone up so much over the last couple of years, you guys have been making a lot more money, haven't
You
you?
got to go back to your schools, your libraries, and everybody else has not stayed revenue neutral last few years, and they've taken more of your money than we do.
I got you. So you're only looking for your,
All we're responsible
Okay.
for is our portion of the
right,
tax.
right.
Not
So
that
we need,
have a
so you're saying, let's go to the other meetings and complain.
You need to go to your school boards, your townships, and your library boards.
I got you. Okay.
It's on the bottom of your sheet there when their revenue neutral hearing is, and you need to attend those meetings also.
I think they've all suggested to exceed every one of them for District 2.
My school district gone up more than the county.
Well, I think you'll find the schools have went up way above what inflation has done in the last few years. Over inflation.
We keep track of the year, the new levies just for our office of taxpayers, and the overall mill levies have come down for the last 4 or 5 years. It's gone up.
Yeah. But there's a question, of all the money that the county collects in taxes, how much does the county actually keep?
Can you answer that? It's different in each area just because of what the schools take and the libraries take. But as far as percentage for the county, I don't know that.
With schools, remember, how much of it's got to go to the state?
Well, I think the state takes the school money and then passes it back to the schools, right? Yeah, they take all the school money and then they pass it back. And you'll find that it's over $20,000 a student in Linn County right now that goes back to each school from the state. It's over 20,000, I believe, by each school district.
So if we go to the school boards and ask them to cut their budgets, then the state's just
No.
I don't know where it goes to there. I don't know.
Yeah, if we cut the mill, yeah, it goes back into your pocket.
You
Same with
wouldn't be paying as much to the state if the school boards didn't charge us what they're charging, or the library, or us. I mean, it's,
So these changes all take effect for the 26 year. So while folks are having these hearings, y'all are coming to the hearings, please go to the school board ones as well. They still have an opportunity to reduce that budget, which would in turn reduce that levy. And so the money that you're talking about wouldn't ultimately be taxed because we're talking about next year's taxes. This year's taxes is already decided. We are having these hearings about next year's taxes, but the statute requires that they publish this stuff in advance so that you all have an opportunity to participate in these hearings, both at this county level, at your city level, at your school boards, libraries, etc.
and on the bottom of your appraisal sheet, it's every one of those hearings are there. I mean, the library, you'll have 2 libraries that you can go to as far as the revenue neutral hearings. And it's, I encourage you all to go, because I'll tell you what, I understand we're responsible for what's happening here, but we're not responsible for as much of your money as the other entities are, or the taxing entities. And like I say, I stated before, we're at 37.2, and I want to get back to revenue neutral. And go ahead, come up.
Are we still getting revenue from the power plant?
Yes.
And when is that going to quit?
Well, they have a proposal. You can go onto their website and look at their proposed closure, and they have multiple documents, but that's
And
nothing's
we get
guaranteed.
quite a bit of revenue from the power plant and always have. So when that ends, when that is shut down, is that tax burden then going to be?
Well, over
shared by
60% of your tax base comes from utilities in Linn County, whether it's pipelines, power lines, or the power plant.
Right. So,
That, it's in the mid-60s, right?
so my question again is, when that is shut down,
Services will change in Linn County. I will assure you.
and our taxes will go up to pay for those services.
Either that or you
Or
don't have any services at all.
you don't have a choice, right?
Right.
You have to pay them regardless. And that's just going to be not good. I mean, if we think it's bad now, it's going to be worse. So,
They don't pay taxes. They just pass that on the rates, so. Just because they pay 60% of our taxes, we pay increased utility bills because they have to pay taxes. I mean, it's like there's businesses don't pay taxes, they just pass them on to their customers.
Okay, point of order. Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, let's be quiet here, please.
Thank you. We've closed public comment, and so now we're moving to the next portion of today's hearing.
Okay. You have any other discussion concerning the revenue neutral rate in our budget, proposed budget?
We're not allowed to work on it though right now, are we?
Do you have any other discussion?
No.
Okay.
No, this is just the revenue neutral rate, voting whether to exceed or not. And then this has to take a roll call vote, and your attorney also will probably help you with this, but takes a roll call vote. There should be a resolution you're voting on or not. Yeah. And that resolution would be voted on by you, roll call vote, and then you would say yay or nay, and then this would be signed and closed. Then you go into a budget hearing, and that's where you discuss, if you want to discuss any more of the line items or budget. You do not have to make that decision today on the budget hearing. You can lower it, but you can't raise it. So you can keep working on it. Typically, somewhere around September 20th is when the budgets are supposed to be completed with hearings. And you then would have to have it to the clerk. Since you're the clerk, county, you have it right there. But by October 1st, that's when the budgets are supposed to all be signed and finalized into the clerk. So we're just in the revenue neutral rate portion right now.
And that's all, and we will not decide on the budget today. As far as.
You would sign it. You would typically, I just had that happen here at Brown County. They had the revenue neutral rate. They went 2-1 just to keep the revenue neutral rate. And then they went into the budget hearing and they had a lot of discussion. And then at that point, they did not sign anything on their budget document today. They're going to keep working on it, trying to reduce departments or whatever they need to do. And then at some open meeting, you will then sign the final budget document that it goes to the county clerk. And then that's what sets your tax rates to the county treasurer once everything's been finalized.
Okay.
But you're not in favor of that resolution, so you're gonna have to vote to exceed today.
Well, I'm going to have
Can we not work on it?
What happens with that is, since I did not vote for
Yeah,
it,
so.
Well, hang on
Yeah,
a second. So, Mr. Lloyd, just 1 second.
yeah,
Mr. Lloyd,
If it's 1-1, then it wouldn't pass.
Hold on just a second.
Yep.
The attorney is trying
Okay.
to speak. Sorry.
okay. So
Sorry.
what he's saying is you can finish the R&R part of the hearing and then you can work on the budget if that's what you want to do yet in this budget hearing. But we have to finish the R&R part of the hearing first. So if you just want to do
I
the next,
understand that. I can vote on this to say, yes, this is where we're at.
yes.
What happens if I don't vote on this? Then what happens? What's my other option? Because I didn't vote to begin with.
Yeah, so you're in a bit of a conundrum today with only having the two of you here. You would have to both vote yes. So if one of you votes no, then it does not pass.
So then what happens if I do that?
Then we cannot exceed revenue neutral. We would have to stay
Yep.
revenue neutral.
Yep. So one of the commissioners today voted yes, even though he didn't agree with it. Okay, it was a 2-1 vote here, but that's what would happen is if it didn't pass, then you would go back to revenue neutral
So
automatically
balls in your court.
without.
Let's do this.
But that doesn't mean that I like the guy upstairs. That doesn't mean that you necessarily in favor of it. It's the way it was published. Now you did vote against it. I think to be published, you voted against what was published. But what that's saying is you're going into the budget hearing and working on the budget even after today to, like you said earlier, cut, maybe some departments or different parts to get it back to revenue neutral based on those expense cuts. But yeah, it puts you in a position today, yes, yay or nay, for the revenue neutral rate resolution.
So if it's a 1-1, it doesn't pass. And
I'm not an attorney, but I think that's correct.
So just because he voted a certain way on a different day does not mean that he is bound by that vote today. In light of all of the information that you have, Jim, you are able to go ahead and make a vote today based on the information that you have in front of you today. But it would need both of you voting yes to exceed revenue neutral. If you do not both vote yes, then you will not be exceeding revenue neutral. You will be at revenue neutral, and then there will be a lot of cuts that you have to do. And to the lady's point about incremental adjustments to those taxes, we know that revenue neutral for the years that you guys have done it so far is not sustainable into the future. So at some point, and that could be as soon as next year, exceeding revenue neutral next year might not be the 3 mils. It could be 6 or 7 or 8 mils. And so that consideration has to be taken into account as well, that we don't want to overtax the people by a catastrophic increase in a next year situation. So as you're looking at the entirety of the picture, you need to consider where you are with your cash reserves. How much does this deplete your tax reserves? I mean, your cash reserves, so that what in so doing, prognosticating where you're going to end up next year, that could really be high next year. There's still plenty of work to be done on the budget hearing to decrease it even more, as was already pointed out in an earlier budget meeting, that workshop that you all had. So you aren't bound by your earlier decision, but it does take the both of you voting to exceed in order to exceed.
How much is the sheriff's budget over budget last year, or to what he was, what does he ask for? We was at 400 and some thousand, but can you tell me what it is now?
In 2025, the actual budget for the sheriff's department was 754. Oh, sorry, that's only the page two. Okay. 4,185,968.
And that was 2025's.
Well, 2025 budget. Their proposed for 2026 is 4,732,566.
That's,
Keeping in mind that this is a year where they're having to renew many of their contracts. The justification for such a.
but I thought he'd cut that some.
He did, because this is the original, so he did cut it from what she just said to what he originally proposed.
So on the document now, it says the ones that were the COLA or no COLA on the sheriff, 4,679,974 is what Lauren and I had.
679.
460.
4 million, yeah, 4,679,974 is what's in the budget document was just sent on the COLA and no COLA.
Scott's correct. Looking at the version that was his second to the last revision, he did make, I think, 5
Yeah.
revisions.
No, it's fine. I have an old one here too. Okay, so let's just think about this really quick, or let me think about this. If we go from 38,
Or
we're at 37,225. Okay.
and we're trying to get to 35,086, right?
Please keep in mind that the value of 1 mil is 388,354. You would have to cut 1.5 mils, which means you have to cut a total of $1,048,555 from the budget. That would be the value of 2.5 mils that you're trying to cut still to get revenue.
We're not 2.5 mils, we're at 2.2 something, right? Aren't we at 37225, or am I wrong?
That's correct. I see what you're saying. It's not 2.7.
Minus 35,086.
Right, the value of 2.2 mils then is 854,378.
854 what?
854,378 is the value of 2.4 mils. I'm sorry, 2.2 mils. I apologize. And again, we can vote to, you have the power to vote to exceed revenue neutral, approve the budget as it's written, and we still have time to tweak it to get down as close as possible to revenue neutral or even meeting that. We still have time. You don't have to decide today how to cut $850,000 from the budget.
Well, even if we don't agree, we still don't have to decide today where we're taking that 854
Right,
out. We still have time on that. We just have to get there. So if the goal is to get there for you, then, I mean, it's not that I'm not going to work hard to try to make that happen. Realistically, I'm trying to figure out how we would take almost $1 million out of the budget with what we have. Not saying we can't take some of that.
and I've said this all along, if we go back to where the jail was, and I mean, I wasn't a proponent of the jail to begin with, but we go what the budget is for this jail versus what it was before, our $1,400,000, we're way behind before we ever started the project. So I mean, are we growing government or are we giving good services? That's my question.
And I also feel
Pardon me?
Good services to us and those that pay for our taxes and everything.
Right.
So just because you would vote to exceed revenue neutral today does not mean that you would ultimately exceed revenue neutral. It just means that that would give you the time and you would statutorily be allowed to exceed revenue neutral, even if by 1 mil. If you do not vote to exceed revenue neutral today, you are statutorily obligated to reduce the budget by that $854,278 number.
If we
Yeah,
vote 1-to-1 today, we have to.
correct.
Right.
But you're giving yourself time. Just because you were to vote to exceed revenue neutral today does not mean that you ultimately would exceed revenue neutral. It definitely gives you a little bit more of a safety net if you're not ultimately able to reduce that much.
What's your goal?
my goal would be, so coming into this and the information I've received before this budget stuff started has been really difficult to navigate, to understand it. I think that some of the budgets that come in, we talked about this moving forward with the next cycle of budget, how I would want more of a uniform sheet of how we get it, the commodities, the contracts. I think there's a lot of unknowns of where some of that money is going, and I still don't know. I'm not saying I need to know every single penny necessarily, but for the most part, I want to be really solid on where I'm at, on where that money's going. And I don't feel like I've seen that. I think that we can absolutely make cuts and tweak some of these. I think it's doable. I think it's possible to get where you want to be, revenue neutral, but that's quite a bit. It would definitely force us to, all three of us, work together to make it happen. And if that's the goal, we're not gonna get there if we don't have, if the goal is to get there and we're not forced to get there, I don't see us getting there. I know looking at some of these positions, I don't know if there's some opportunity to cut back in certain departments.
Let me ask you this, where's your thought on the STARS program with what the memorandum of understanding that we have today? Where's your?
Well, we did not put that in the budget for 2026. So my understanding of that would be that money is already sitting there. And if we do not approve that to go to STARS, then we would have general fund.
Yep, it would increase our cash reserves going into 2026.
Can I make a comment? Our grandson, I know, maybe I'm not allowed, but.
He'll just need to address you. Thank you.
They got a lot of pieces. I'm just trying to keep them on track a little bit. I appreciate the interactions.
I'm not against the program.
I'm not against the program either, but there's some things that
I was never against the program, never was. But the way we handed the money over without any guidance at all, that was my concern.
yes.
Mm-hmm. But should we be paying for out-of-state people to go to college or to go to school there? Should our county taxpayer money? Huh? Pardon me?
You're paying for the people that go to school here that are going up
There's kids out of state and out of county going to that school.
So in regards to revenue neutral, are we close to having a motion? Just for the revenue neutral part, this is not budgetary, this is just revenue neutral.
We're revenue neutral.
To exceed. Just for the sake of moving forward to budget conversations.
I think everybody knows where I stand on this, and you know, just to take my one vote and tie their hands, you know, on everybody. I guess I'm probably not going to tie their hands today, but I tell you, both of you know where I stand on this, and if you guys choose to go over, I guess it's going to be on you too, because I think we can do better than what we're doing right now. And I think we need to, because times are tough, and it's with the taxpayers and everything else. And I believe we're elected officials for the taxpayers, and I think that's what we should do, is work for the taxpayers to cut their taxes as much as we can. And I've been on this board this will be my 5th budget, and I don't believe we went over revenue neutral since I've been here. So. And I realize that may come back and get us eventually, but I'll tell you what, I guess I want to kick the can down the road one more year myself.
So at this point, we need a motion to either exceed or not exceed revenue neutral.
Was it just between them that they have to decide right now?
Yes, ma'am.
The two of them?
Yes, ma'am.
But you have other meetings coming up.
So this is.
We planned this. I mean, it was planned for a budget hearing today, and we have to make our decision right now.
This is the statutory meeting. That's why the mailer was out. That's why it was posted in the newspaper as well. So today is the day that they have to vote. And again, if they vote today to exceed revenue neutral, they are still committed to working very diligently to getting as close to, if not at, revenue neutral before the October 1st deadline.
I sent a message that said he was unable to attend today.
Yes, 2.
Scott, what is your idea on this? Is that in order to stay revenue neutral, we're going to have to cut money from budgets instead of our cash reserve?
Yes, so that is definitely the option. You've talked about it quite a bit for the different positions or different locations, or whether to give a COLA or not. And that's what the 2 budgets we computed for you today. I will just say, I just had the hearing this morning, and this county was down to, at the end of 25, if they don't do some more cutting, they're down to $22,000 in their general fund. So you all are in a lot better place, but everybody's heading that way, because revenue neutral, anytime you lock the dollars and you have increase in inflation like we've had over the last 7 years, that's why so many of them, and they've not, not been able to cut services. So that's why so many of them are burning up their cash reserves. So cutting, it's just like in the tax lid days of the 90s. We had to go in and figure out how to cut services. And, Kansas Association County just called me the other day, and in December, I'm talking on revenue neutral / cash reserves because it's a big thing across the entire state of Kansas. So, and I will say one other thing. I have 6 different counties. The county I just finished this morning earlier is 9 mil increase because they've not increased it for 7 years. It had to do a 9 mil increase. It's probably not going to happen. It'll probably be less than that. The county to the east of them, Atchison County, is 11 mil increase because they've not addressed, whether it's cutting services or increase in mill levy. Your mill levy and Brown, where I'm at right now, are 2 of the lowest mill levies in the state of Kansas. Now your mill is a lot different. It's 388,000 and this one's 229. So there's quite a bit of difference in dollars, just in what's one mill. So that's what makes this so difficult. I don't know how to answer it except we went through the state or Kansas Association Counties put out that form that showed what is required, because that came up today here at Brown County also. What is required of a county performing services? What services do they have to statutorily require? And that's something that I think is going to happen across the state of Kansas. There's probably going to be some adjustments there, of people saying, well, we can't do that anymore. But I'm not a genie, or don't have a crystal ball, but that's probably what's going to happen is services. And I think one thing that's really hurt you, and I don't know if it's a bad or good thing, your county, the values, like the appraiser said earlier, I cannot believe I've never had a $32 million jump in assessed value. And, 10 of that is state assessed. 22 of it is real estate. But what's happening is these people, I just had this happen in McPherson County the other day. One of my employees' sister was going to buy a house for full price. So it was a pretty good size, like 300,000, I think, or something. A guy came in from outside and paid 80,000 over the asking price. And that's what's creating this whole problem that the appraiser and them were talking about earlier. And it's not just your county. The reason yours is hitting hard because people are trying to get out of the state, out of, the Kansas City area. But that's a lot of things that you didn't ask for. But anyway, that's what I've been seeing.
Can you tell me how many budgets went over? What were the total amount of budgets that went over this year?
Over what? Over their prior year budget?
Appraiser's office is lower. Because you probably had a payroll because of the years of service, people that retired.
What would you take out? How would you find that? If I had 14 million and I had 6 budgets, I need to take out.
So if there was a motion to not exceed revenue neutral, then you would have until that October 1st date to get your budget below revenue neutral, so or to get your budget in line with revenue neutral. So the cuts, you would not have to necessarily make those today. But you do have your budget hearing after this revenue neutral hearing.
Scott, I have a question.
Yep.
The reason the county has in the past agreed to exceed revenue neutral and then still come in at revenue neutral was because that bought us extra time. If we have no motion to
That's
exceed
correct.
revenue neutral, what is our deadline to get our budgets in?
You still have have to have it done by September 20th, but you have to go to revenue neutral. So I'll share one other county I just picked up. What they did, their revenue neutral was 162 mills, which is unbelievable. They dropped 14 mills, and the way they did it, they went in and did a 2% cut in the 25 across the board, 2% across the board. They did not want to have that because they lost so much value. They had a 14 mil increase to get to even to revenue neutral. They took 2% off of the 26 column also across the board. And that got them about 8 mills or 9. And then they cut the rest on a project. They moved a project from 2025 to 2026. So they had 2 set in both years. So there's ways to, like you said, kick the can in a sense down the road. The most I've ever had them do on that, I had a county in the tax led days do 5% in the middle column. They took 5% of the cost from now till the end of the year and said, we need to live by it because we got to have cash carryover and all that. So I've only had that happen maybe 2 or 3 times. And that comes across the board instead of just, trying to find individuals, because that takes time to find the departments and take them down. But that's options that I've ran into before.
Were you trying to ask there wasn't a motion? Or are you saying there has to be a motion?
No, I was saying if there is no motion to
Either
exceed
way.
revenue neutral, if that changes our deadline as far as getting our budget, our finalized budget to the state of Kansas.
It's the 20th if we don't. October.
Either way,
I still
either
way, it's the 20th.
yeah, it's either way is October 1st. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
October 1st, either way.
October 1st, either way. Yes.
Yeah. It's just you have no options. If this revenue neutral rate resolution doesn't pass, then you have to go to revenue neutral.
Well, it's 50
So just-
for sure. I hear a lot of the people that are working for the county that are here, obviously they're okay with exceeding, and a lot of the other phone calls and all the other messages and emails, you haven't given us anything new, the roads aren't being maintained. What are we getting out of the increase? So, I mean, to me, I think we can do better. I think we can find where to cut this. So, good either way.
You're good with staying revenue neutral.
Yeah, I think we can find it.
Okay.
Jacqueline, how do we proceed if there's no motion to exceed revenue neutral for the revenue neutral hearing?
No motion, and we work on cutting.
I mean, I would prefer a motion not to exceed revenue neutral, or a motion to exceed revenue neutral. Here, since this is the revenue neutral hearing. So I would prefer a motion one way or the other, followed by a second, a discussion, and a vote. Because we do need to do that roll call vote. That is best practices. So that is what I would be looking for, is a motion either way. And then we still have the October 1st deadline that Danielle has to get it to the state.
This is not required.
She said we
It's
need to.
best practices, but not required.
If our county counselor is suggesting it, I think it's what you hired her to do is give you your best practices suggestions.
I have understood. I'm not an attorney.
Processing.
What's that, Scott?
I'm not an attorney, but I have understood that the roll call vote is necessary because you would, in this case, you would make a motion to exceed, and if one person says yes, okay, the other person doesn't second it, then that motion would fail, and the attorney will have to jump in here, but that motion would fail. And then that vote would be 1-1, the roll call.
No, that motion would die of lack of second.
Oh, it would die of a second. Yeah, it would die without a second. Okay, I understand. Then you probably wouldn't have to
Right.
do a roll call vote. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've never had
Then I
this
would second
before.
it, and then we would vote after discussion.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, and again, the motion and the second discussion, then even the maker of the motion can choose to vote nay after.
You're just saying we need to go through the,
I need you to do the formulaic process, please. Yes.
But
this is
either
the
way,
hearing.
I guess the only problem I'm not understanding would be, in outside of this, when we make a motion, it's 1-1, it's still deadlock. Why are you saying we have to be revenue neutral in this situation if we're deadlocked 1-1?
So this.
To me, that just says, oh, well, this just doesn't exist.
So this is the statutory hearing that was published in the newspaper according to statute, that was sent out in the mailer according to statute. So today is the day that you have to decide if you're exceeding or not exceeding. If you make the motion, if Commissioner Johnson were to make the motion that says, I make a motion that we exceed revenue neutral, and Commissioner Hamilton were to second that motion, any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Nobody says anything. All opposed? Aye. And then you both were to say aye. Then you voted not to exceed revenue neutral. If one of you says, I make a motion not to exceed revenue neutral, and then there's a second, and then there's a discussion, and then all in favor say aye, all opposed say aye. We need to go through that process, even if it is going to be a lost, even if the motion would fail.
so if I make a motion to not to receive revenue neutral, and we go through the process, is what you're.
Yes.
I understand what you just said. I still feel that maybe my question wasn't answered. Sorry. But I'm saying at the end of this, if it's 1-1, why are you saying if it's 1-1 and we don't have an agreement on something that it reverts back to, we have to stay revenue neutral?
Because
Because you didn't pass revenue neutral.
in order to pass, in order for any motion to carry today, there has to be 2 votes yes.
It just has to carry. Okay.
You want to make a motion?
No.
You don't.
Do you?
I'll make a motion that we stay revenue neutral.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
1-1.
Right, so the motion to stay revenue neutral failed. So we can leave it at that if there is no motion to exceed revenue neutral.
Jacqueline, do I still need to collect a roll call vote if that is the motion and tweak the wording in the roll call vote?
Yeah. We need to go ahead and record this as the statutorily required vote for the budget hearing. For the revenue neutral hearing.
Okay.
And we won't do that today first.
Unless there is a motion to exceed revenue neutral, the motion was not to exceed revenue neutral, and that motion did not pass. But the default position is still that unless there's a motion that carries for exceeding revenue neutral, then you are obliged to stay revenue neutral.
Okay.
So this concludes.
I'm still confused about how do I handle the roll call vote?
So since there's no motion to exceed revenue neutral,
It's unnecessary.
right. But you will make the minutes for the meeting that indicated how the voting went.
So this concludes the revenue neutral hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If there are no other motions or
No other motions? Make a motion to adjourn.
Might
Yep.
want to say that there's a part two for the budget hearing. Do we have to do that since we did not pass any motion to exceed revenue neutral?
So your advertisements and your publication indicated that you were going to have the revenue neutral hearing followed by the budget hearing. So at this point, this is the time set for the budget hearing. If there was any items that you guys wanted to address while you have, you know, these folks that responded to the publication here. So paper there, the next item on your paper there is the budget hearing.
Okay, this hearing is now open for comments. You have 3 minutes if anybody wants to comment.
On the budget.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think I will, and thank you, Karen Tyson. And I'm just curious, I noticed in the paper, and thank you for the information, there was recently a county employee that quit, an economic development person. And I don't know what that budget looks like, but I'm hoping you'll take a look at that. That might be some savings there. Because I look over the history and I don't know what Linn County has gained from an economic development person in the past years. I'm not saying it may be needed. I don't know. I don't want to micromanage or try to get into that, but it's just a suggestion of something to look at. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen.
Anyone else? Okay, there'll be no further public comment then.
At this point, we're closing public comment for the budget hearing.
I'm closing public comment for the budget hearing.
So you'll actually have to end the budget hearing there, but you won't sign the budget document yet because you got to work on it to get it to revenue neutral. So that'll have to occur at another meeting, and you'll work through, you'll get your reductions, and then at that point you'll have at a regular meeting, you'll say, we approved the budget for 2026. That's when you'll sign it, and that has to be done. Typically, we try to get it done by September 20th so the county clerk has time to work on it for her October 1st deadline. But that's up to you on when you want to work on it. And you need to let me know if I need to be there or online with you or whatever.
Okay.
He's suggesting that you set another budget workshop to be able to get the budget in line with revenue neutral.
Yeah.
You want to set that up?
September 15th.
Okay.
I'll have to check. I have, I believe, two.
Can we do it the 22nd?
Yeah, since you've already had your revenue neutral rate hearing and your budget hearing, you're working on the budget to try to get it to the clerk by basically the 1st is what the tough deadline is. Yeah, I could be there if you want me to come on the 22nd. It looks like it's open.
Okay.
Can we have a brief discussion on the 15th to kind of get us?
You can set as many budget workshops as you want to set.
I think we should set it 15th, 22nd, and 29th.
Okay.
If we don't need it on the 29th, great, but I don't trust that we'll get there
Okay.
on time.
And you'll be here the 22nd, then Scott, or
I could be there 22nd. Yep.
we can talk about it before and see what we think. And then
Yeah.
you know,
Sure.
Okay.
I did a real quick calculation. I wanted to just see what it was. I took the 22 million of expenditures in 24 times 2%, and that's 441,000 roughly. Okay. So if you did like that county I'm going to Thursday, 2% each year, that would be 880,000. I'm just giving you numbers to be kind of thinking about, but that's what 2% does roughly on 2024 numbers. It'd be about 441,000 a year roughly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So did you want to go ahead and say that you're going to have a budget workshop on those 3 days at the conclusion of?
That was my suggestion. But
That's fine.
He can add it to the,
Okay.
if he agrees.
I'm good with it. We'll have a
15th.
budget hearing on September 15th, 22nd, and the 29th.
To be part of your agenda, or would you like to set a workshop that follows the meeting, the regular meeting?
Thank you.
Do you want him to follow the meeting?
That's fine with me.
That's fine with me as well.
We can't adopt the budget right now until we actually get the figure, right?
Do you
Okay.
have?
Yeah, till you get the final numbers.
Did you send it? Is it in the share drive?
I did.
The most recent? Okay.
That is correct. It's in the share drive.
Oh, I see it.
And in the share drive, you have all 26 pages of the budget where it breaks it down per account inside the general fund and then all the accounts outside the general fund as well.
Okay, I see it. I'm gonna print that off.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't
Yeah,
have
man.
anything.
I'll make a motion, we close the budget hearing.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.